Good. So, hi, this is Christian from the band Dead Star Talk. I'd say we are a wall of sound driven polyphonic rock band based in Copenhagen, Denmark, and Hamburg, Germany. So, we've got like a bit of double city edge to us. And yeah, we've just released the first single from our upcoming album number two. The single is called 20. It was released on Friday, the 20th of October. And we're releasing our second album in April next year. It's going to be called Solid State Chemicals, and that album is definitely going to be a massive step up for the band. I'm really excited to get the new music out there.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
I will speak about I will make the Spanish part. Para los que estéis flipando porque estoy haciendo muchas entrevistas en español, en inglés, perdón. Son entrevistas que estoy aprovechando con proyectos internacionales que pude conocer en el Pro Weekend en Castellón. Y estas son las entrevistas que se quedaron pendientes y estas entrevistas en inglés. Just to make a small resume about that, I thought that we met in Castellón. One of the interviews that I couldn't do there. So now, my first question is, we could see you, the people that were in Castellón, playing and showing your I think a part of the new material, and you told us that you are going to release it on the next year in some months later than you play in Spain. How do you feel about wait to listen to show the new song?
It was actually kind of a weird feeling because we didn't play that. I think we played two songs from the new album when we were in Castellón, and I mean, I like the old stuff we recorded. We've done an album and an EP before this album, so we do have quite a few songs in the catalog by now. But it was kind of strange rehearsing for the Pro Weekend shows because I realized how much the band had developed when rehearsing the older material. Because in parallel, we've been recording. We finished recording the second album 3 days before we flew off to Spain. So we started recording the second album in February this year, and then we've been in and out of the studio several times. And we spent a lot more time in the studio as well compared to the album and the EP. So we worked a lot more with the songs together with our producer. And it was an interesting experience. I didn't realize how much the band had actually moved until we didn't have enough time to rehearse the full album, the new album songs for the set list in Spain. And we wanted to, also play songs that are out there on Spotify that people can actually listen to afterwards and stuff. So, but that was an interesting experience that I hadn't expected.
How do you feel about shows you are like have been telling shows songs that are not released? Because I know and I can imagine if you have been working on the studio, it's like okay, it's time for create the songs, not for being preparing the shows. I mean, you know how to play the old songs and perhaps or over two songs more like to play. But you will go to prepare the new shows after that, or how do you feel about the first time you will show your new songs?
Yeah, so we're going to spend a lot of time in the rehearsal room in the coming months and actually develop a new live set list. It needs a lot of work because, especially for a band like Dead Star Talk, we are only 4 musicians live, but when we record our music, we often have 90 different layers on top of each other. So we do a lot of layering, and obviously when you take that to the scene, you need to make choices and you need to figure out which roles work the best and which ones are we not going to do. We, for example, often have 3 or 4 vocal harmonies on top of each other, and especially with the new material, or 15 different guitar things happening at the same time. Obviously, you can't take all of that to the stage. And so this is something that needs work, and you don't figure that out in one rehearsal. But it's going to be super fun. It's super great too. And we will also keep some of the old songs, but we're definitely gonna put a lot of the new stuff in there. And actually, like what you don't hear on the first single from the album, which is a very 20 is a very big rock anthem, but the album as a whole is very dynamic. So there's a lot of songs that start with very little and then end up with a lot, or goes up and down, and so it's a lot more playful with dynamics as well, which is something that needs more work. It's a lot easier to play a 1, 2, 3, 4 rock song live and just bang out 4 minutes than doing a very like dynamic song live. You need, yeah, it needs a lot of work. So yeah, we've got a bit of work, but it's gonna be great.
Sorry, I don't know if you can see my what I'm showing you my phone. No, I don't know. It's focused, but you
It's
are.
not,
It's not focused, but you are on my all last research music that I when I was coming back to Madrid. I was listening to
oh,
you and
nice.
some bands, and for me it was quite interesting because okay, I can go to Spotify, but I use Apple Music
Mm.
normally.
Yeah,
The quality of the sound,
yeah.
but I was when I saw you on the stage, it was like whoa, the sound as a band, electric
Mm.
band. I mean, okay,
Mm.
on a stage, normal stage, not a showcase. It's like wow, it's international band touring in Spain. I mean, status
Mm.
of international band
Mm.
or a really good
Mm.
festival band. I don't know
Mm.
if do you feel the same about the how did you prepare your shows? Like on the way that okay, we have to use that kind of in air. We have to prepare it. We have to use like rings inside. We have to know about the light. It's normal in your local scenes to see that, or it's something not
It's a
really.
good question. It's a good question. I think like when we were younger, we didn't do it like that. So I think Dead Star Talk. What we actually played together like 15 years ago, and then we had a long break and did other stuff. And it was another kind of music. It was more punk rock, more Sex Pistols, like more in that direction. And that's normal. That was that phase of life. And I think back then we didn't work a lot on these details. It has been a very natural part of the band now. But I think the reason why we work like this is we have to work like that because I'm the main songwriter in the band and I live in Hamburg. And I used to live in Copenhagen, but now I live in Hamburg in Germany. And so we can't rehearse every week. So when we meet up, it has to be super well prepared. We have to be super like everyone. Like I have to do real proper demos before we meet, so everyone can get an idea of what kind of songs it is and write their own parts for it. And we need to be super on point with all our preparations, otherwise this cannot work. So I think it's kind of like a product of the circumstances. The fact that we can't just go into a rehearsal room every week. We have to know exactly which BPM the song is played at. We have to know all of these details. We just need to be super clear on that because um, so I think that's a part of it. But another part is because we work with Flemming Rasmussen, who's Flemming Rasmussen is a producer, a Danish guy who produced the first three Metallica albums, and he's worked with Ringo Starr and Tina Turner and all kinds of mega bands, and also a lot of great bands that you probably don't know. But he's so experienced, and he's been a very important part because he kind of took us under his wings, and he's been pushing us a lot as well to develop a lot. Even like on the new album, we often, because my voice is quite deep, so we tuned down the guitars for like half a tone on most of the album, which we didn't do on the first recordings. But Guinness, the other singer, has a very high voice, so it gives me more space to go down and gives him more space to go up. So this is also because of the producers, things that he has kind of brought to the band. So we have definitely become a lot more, yeah, like perfectionist in terms of. But that being said, that's all the preparation. When we play live, we just have fun. I think it's so important just to have fun and just be regular guys playing, and having fun and not taking, you know, just let rock and roll be rock and roll and don't try to take yourself too seriously and just, share a good moment with the people that are at the venue. So I think that's the preparations before, but once we're on stage, I really think it's important to be in the moment and just enjoy it because everyone feels that, if you enjoy it, then everyone enjoys it. That's my philosophy.
Whoa, it's something interesting because I don't know if the local bank told you the Spanish new bank is preparing a really good show. They are trying to buy in air. They try to know how to do a really good live. Now it's
Mm.
like okay, we want to be like European and international band, or we
Mm.
see our friends that are on the close to us. It's playing on festivals, so we want to play at them. on the same way, no?
Yeah.
But now we are,
Yeah.
Catalonia is normal. I mean, in Madrid, okay,
Mm.
it's normal. In the south, okay. But now you can find a lot of new bands from other parts that comes with the in-air box
Mm.
and everything. And it's like, okay, or
Mm.
please put, I want to be with red lights and no front
Mm.
lights and don't use smoke and these
Yeah.
things. So it's quite interesting. And how do you feel about Spotify and release new singles? Because I will tell you something interesting. I was looking for you on Spotify, and I find that all the covers, two of the covers have got the face of the band. That is normal. That says you have to be on the cover. They don't have to know who you are. But all the covers have got a personality over the band, and you have got two personal Spotify playlists
Mm.
at one Ego FM and your band
Mm.
and bands that you recommend. It means like
Mm.
it's a way for knowing you better. That kind of playlist.
I think it is. I think it is. I think. I mean, I think there are two things to it. I think Spotify is so chaotic because everyone can release music, which means it's super flooded. And I also think the kind of music we play is not. You know, we sold the 500 vinyls we pressed of our debut album. So there's an audience. The people that listen to our kind of music, they're more into they're more nerdy. They buy vinyls and stuff, but they're not the people that are streaming that much. So it's like for rock music in general, it's a tricky platform to be on compared to hip hop and electronic music and all that kind of stuff. As you say, the sound is shit on Spotify. I also prefer listening to Apple Music because as a recording artist, you spend a lot of time making like a proper master and a great mix, and then Spotify just turns that into garbage. Basically, it's a funny thing. It's like someone turned down the volume by 50%. It kills the entire dynamic of the recording. So there's a lot of things that I'm not a fan of with Spotify, but obviously it's still a platform that everybody uses, and that is still a good thing for music. So when we make a playlist, I just want to recommend other artists I like, both new and old bands. And of course it gives people an idea of where we come from music wise, and the kind of stuff that inspires us to keep on writing music. So yeah, I think it's always interesting also when other artists do the same to have a chance to actually listen to what they listen to. So yeah, it's a good tool, but I'm not a big fan of Spotify in general.
No, no, I understand you perfectly. You have to use it because it's the most famous platform or YouTube. But
Yeah,
YouTube is
yeah,
is a word for me. We say in Spain, literally, it's a word because if you try to fit your artist profile, it's like okay, I have to, but YouTube prefers live instead of something just with the cover. Prefers YouTube music covers instead of what you upload. Like okay, or and prefer lyric videos instead of something. Okay, for me, it's something really impossible to understand right now, and I prefer to
yeah.
use it too. And how do you feel about social media world? I mean, you are
Mm,
touring, no? And you're touring in, I think, in two different countries, and
mm,
then you move to other
mm,
countries to be playing in festivals and showcases the
mm,
festivals. But when you keep in touch with a fan of one of the countries where you play, or someone that discovered you and is following you
mm,
on
mm.
Instagram, for example, how do you feel about that? When they told you, "Oh, I love this song," or someone gives
It's
you
great.
the heart.
No, it's great. I mean, I think social media is great. I think it's a lot easier. Actually, it's a good example that you take because I think as a band, social media is a lot more natural and easy to use when you're on tour because you always have to kind of keep your account active, but you also have phases where you're not really doing a lot of interesting stuff to show. So when you're on tour, as you say, people will, you get new followers, you have people that start writing with you, people share video from your show that you can share yourself afterwards. So that's like real interaction, and it's also interesting content for other people that follow the band to see. So I think like as a rock band, I definitely prefer social media when I'm on tour, or if I'm doing something exciting, recording music or whatever, then it's a great tool. But I think social media is also a bit of a pain because you need to keep it going. Also, in times where you actually don't have that much interesting stuff to say and tell. And again, you don't want to just spam people with pointless news. So it is, it's a bit of a discipline thing. You need to keep yourself going at certain times. It's super fun and easy when you're on the road, but it's a bit of a pain sometimes when you're not.
As a band, how do you feel about platforms like Bandcamp? I mean, some artists in Spain now saying, because we have got we found that some of the bands want to move to Bandcamp because now there is like the topic that is telling, if you have got less than 1,000 listeners, Spotify, Deezer, and other platforms will say that you will not receive money as other bands that is growing up faster than you. So people is now thinking, okay, I will upload my music to YouTube, SoundCloud, and Bandcamp. Okay,
Yeah.
I know the Bandcamp market. I love it. I tend to buy vinyls over Bandcamp. I think it's the best option for me. But how do you feel about this kind of market? Different markets like SoundCloud or Bandcamp that have got a different way of work.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good point, because I think the problem that you have with the big tech corporations, be it Google and YouTube, or be it Apple and Apple Music, or be it Spotify, which is a pure tech company, is that they're not about the music. They're about selling their services, or in some cases, like with Apple, they just want to use Apple Music to sell their iPhones and stuff like that. So it's for them, it's not about the music. And also, I mean, the payment is incredibly poor. It's ridiculous how little money comes out of that. And like Bandcamp is obviously one of the few fair platforms for artists. In an ideal world, like a critical mass of artists would start boycotting the big tech platforms and move their stuff to similar platforms. But obviously, it takes a critical mass to make that change. But we've kind of given away ownership of music distribution to the people, to tech companies that actually don't care about the music. So we have a problem as an industry, I think. And I think Bandcamp is a great platform for sure. And it's a good way because you support the artists. But like it's an interesting thing. But like Spotify, like they distribute the money based not based on what, like if you pay 10 euros and you listen to the music at Spotify, your 10 euros just go into a collective pot of money for Spain, and that gets distributed based on place. It does not get distributed based on what you listen to. And that's obviously in the interest of major labels because they have like 80-90% of the catalog and listens. So for them, based on volume, is ideal. But like if you take bands like us and indie rock bands, people don't stream like as much because like fans of rap bands, they actually battle each other. So they're gonna put the phone on mute and just put the song on repeat to put up the numbers of the new hero singles so that they can beat the other rapper that they're battling with. So you've got a very different culture around streaming in certain music genres. It's a very broken system, and so like Bandcamp is definitely it's a good place to go. I think Bandcamp got bought up by some other company as well. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with them now, but it's still like the way their model works. It's a better system for sure.
And now I have to make you another question. For me, it's one of the most important. How do you feel about the feeling of being on tour? Because I tend to ask a lot of fans about that exactly question.
Yeah.
You finish your gig, you go to the hotel, you woke up, you move to another city. Then you make the sound check, you have to wait, you play, you finish your gig, everything to the band, go to the hotel. And then another one, another one, and another one. You feel exhausted. You can find places like to visit. I mean, you can do tourist. You can have typical meals, typical beers, typical drinks over there. You can. You have got time.
Yeah. I mean, it's both great and terrible. Like it's. I think it depends on how the tour is going as well. Like if you're playing a lot of shitty shows where there's not a lot of people coming out, and let's just say it's a lot of waiting and it's quite hard physically as well. You're up early, you're up until late, you're setting up, sound checking, waiting, playing. then packing down, sleeping shortly, driving. Like if you don't like, if you're not having a great time, like when you're playing the shows and stuff, it can become a tough spiral. And especially if you're a group of people, you know, like I think the group energy is always important. And obviously, if it's tough, then like irritations might also, you know, increase a bit inside a band. So it can be really tough, but it can also be really amazing if you're on a roll and you're having great experiences. I mean, like when we played at Because and Casino, it was really fun. You know, it was a fun night, and you really enjoyed that. Then you have a great energy, and you're almost a bit sad when you have to go home again after shows like that. So it is, but it's very nice because you're very alive. It's very intense. Both, as I said, both magic and terrible. Like it's both, and you probably have a bit of both. And you know, you're away from the computer screen a lot of the times. You're living in the real world. You're meeting new people. You're, as you say, tasting new food, experiencing new cultures. It's very enriching, and I think it's a privilege to be able to sometimes go out and play a series of shows. I think when you get to tour internationally, you know, it's a very big privilege for sure. As an artist, I would say.
Okay, and the last question is gonna be, I think, the most difficult one for me. Yeah, forget the streaming, forget it. On live show, how do you want to show your music? Vinyl, which kind of way do you want to show your music? If you can choose one, just one, which one? Vinyl, CD, or cassette?
Oof, this one. I think. I mean, we're talking about a physical format. I would definitely say vinyl. Just because of the amount of space that you have on a vinyl. You know, um, it gives you the chance to put in the lyrics. It gives you the chance to show some real imagery of, you know, whatever you want to convey, whether it's pictures of band members or just some kind of artistic expressionism that fits the music. But and then obviously the audio quality, you know, like when you do a vinyl master, it's also it's a very big data file. You know, it's a very high quality data format. So you get a lot of details and nuances, especially if you play it on a proper like vinyl player. So I would say vinyl both because of the tangible, you know, because I think nowadays everything is digital and very short-lived and not permanent at all. So I think the vinyl is kind of the counter statement, so that it's a big bold statement. You can put it on the wall and people can see it almost as a piece of art. You can take it out and listen to it, and in a very high quality. You can add lyrics and text and stuff to the booklet as well. So I think it's a great format. And any music you're proud of deserves that format, I think. So it's a permanent mark somehow. So I would, yeah. Although it's a pain to produce vinyl because the waiting times are so long and all of that stuff, but it's definitely, you know, I would definitely say vinyl. Yeah. The
Yeah,
thing I don't like about vinyl, the thing I don't like about vinyl is that it's quite exclusive, and I think music should be inclusive. So that's why I like digital platforms, you know, where I like Bandcamp and other where you can download or stream music in high quality because everyone has access to that nowadays, and most people have a decent pair of in-ears or a decent pair of Bluetooth speakers. So it's the most inclusive way to play music in a high quality, but it's also a problem because it's so short-lived and chaotic and over-flooded. So I have a schizophrenic relationship to digital. I both love it and hate it. It's like it's both. It's both. Yeah.
thanks a lot for that interview. It was a pleasure. And let's talk when you release your new record. Let's talk about
Yeah.
the new music. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.